Hey guys, welcome to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast YouTube channel. My name is Miosha and I'm joined by the wonderful MAFS.
Hey.
Today we're going to be talking about Married at First Sight, season 15, episode 5. But before we get into it, make sure that you guys like the video. And we are still trying to reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers so that we can go live at some point this season with you all. So make sure that you subscribe. All right, so this episode starts off with the first set of couples on their first day of their honeymoon. And then Binh and Morgan, they finally get to their wedding reception. And then I think it switches back to where the other couples have their activity day. And then at the end, they all come together.
Right.
So we're gonna go couple by couple, how we usually do. And we're gonna start with Binh and Morgan.
Yes. Oh. So my overall feeling about them right now is one of great confusion and disappointment because I like them together so far. I mean, I feel like they're cute. I know last week I expressed my reservations about the influence of Binh's mom, but their interactions are light, they're playful. I just feel really sad to know that things are going to go badly in the coming weeks, right? So, I don't want to skip all the way to the preview yet, but whenever you've got Morgan on a beach crying and saying you broke my trust, we know it's going to go from what is adorable right now to disaster pretty quickly.
Yeah, I will say they're an interesting match, but their energy was better than I thought it would be. But then, once you start to get into the nitty gritty, of okay, well, what are we hoping to get out of this life? Dreams and stuff, from the gate, his mom is okay, the expectation is that the first son, I don't know how she put it, but we need a grandchild.
Right. And immediately.
So, I understand people are wanting what they want, but grandma or mom came out of the gate kind of swinging.
Hot. She came out hot.
Yeah. Yes. And he hadn't even had a chance to have that conversation with her. But I will say, though, that having kids or not is a big deal. So I do wonder what she told the experts, because as family oriented as he is, tradition, culture,
he said it multiple times.
Why would you pair him with someone that's even on the fence?
Unless it was because you knew that it was going to make good TV. And that's part of what I said last week, that I feel like we are getting. So let me just make an overall observation about everybody right now. I think they did an incredible job of casting this season in terms of maturity, in terms of intelligence, right? We have got some empathetic, really smart, funny. A lot of these folks appear to have gone through therapy, well-developed humans who, if we contrast with last season, where we knew from jump, the first time all of the women interacted with each other, we knew that was going to be a source of drama, right? Because Lindsay was going to grate on everybody.
Yeah.
So, but this time, we're skipping ahead a little bit, but when they were on the boat, I was like, look at them. I was so proud of everyone interacting well and being supportive of each other. I was just like, this is wonderful. But I do think that especially in terms of Morgan and Binh, I think they may have been one of the couples that the experts knew full good and well were not going to work. And let's just sit back and eat our popcorn and watch the house burn.
Yeah, that very well could be true, because having kids is a big deal. And then just, I don't know, her energy and his, it almost feels kind of flipped in terms of masculine versus feminine, just a little bit flipped. But yeah, so their pairing is interesting. I almost feel like maybe Lindy would have been a better match for him. And then maybe she should have been with Miguel.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can see that actually.
But
it's going to be interesting to watch when they interact with each other.
Yeah, when they all get together. Yeah. So I will say to comment on her friends, I wish that
thank you.
They wouldn't have said as much as they did. I wish they wouldn't have said anything about the kids things. They really just should have said, well, I don't know.
Yes.
We're not sure. Or even when it came to like, she can get nasty. What?
Why? What? I don't listen. I feel like, again, I'm seeing producer fingerprints on that, because I feel like there's every season, there's at least one group of bridesmaids that will go down that road of, so what are your expectations about tonight kind of thing. Like, who does that? Nobody talks like that at literally
not in real
any
life.
wedding I've ever been to in my life. No one has had the conversation. So what are your expectations for tonight? Like, people don't talk like that. So I think those are the producers at work there doing their Mr. Burns.
I will say though, both of them seemed a bit hot in the pants.
Now, they did seem a little hot. And Binh with that big bowl of condoms, and he's dumping it into his suitcase. Okay.
I mean, they both seemed like they were down. We don't know yet.
They did.
We'll see. But yeah, so they eventually get with the other couples down in Mexico. And I mean, according to her, she's loving everything she's seeing and everything is going well. He said she's cool. So yeah, I mean, we're still on the fence with them, but as of right now, nothing's happened, not including the previews.
Well, yeah, but we have to include the previews, right? We have to.
Yeah.
And so I was trying, when I saw the preview, their part of the preview, I was thinking, okay, what could it have been that he broke her trust? She said, I wanted to keep that private and you violated my trust, or something along those lines. And so at first, like by the end of the episode, we already know, we've seen from and then tonight kind of thing, right? We've seen that she's going to be crying in the next episode and mad at Binh for something, right? And at first I was like, well, maybe it was the kid thing, right? Maybe they had the conversation about kids and she's like, I don't want them and my friends misspoke or whatever. But now I really, really think I think they went ahead and consummated the marriage and he told everybody.
Yeah, well, I don't know what episode it was, but I think when he was with his boys, I think he said he was either going to call his mom or call a friend or something and be like,
no, that's right. He did.
It happened. So he alluded to something like that already.
And then when they were showing him talking to them, because we know they separate them and all the girls are together and then all the guys are together on this next day or whatever. When they were, he was like, now we're going to find out who did and who didn't, or something like that. Or somebody said that, but they showed Binh. And so my gut is telling me that's what happened. They did. And he told, and she didn't want him to tell. And so now she's understandably pissed.
Gosh, Binh, don't be a young 30.
Don't be a young 30.
Don't be a young 30.
You just fresh into 30 too. You are like 2 days into 30. And you still acting 20 something, bro.
I know. But yeah, that was all I had on them.
Well, yeah, not much for these guys.
Yeah, not much. All right. So let's get into Miss Frantic and Mr. Hot in the Pants. So many people hot in the pants. Like,
I get it. I get it. They're like, so let's get it done. But who does Miguel look like?
I was actually thinking about that.
I was making me insane.
Is it a slightly different version of Mario Lopez?
It's not Mario Lopez. No. That's not it. It's not the one. But he looks like somebody, and it's gonna. I mean, I might have to ask the internet gods to help me figure it out, because I don't know. Find me a millennial who can do some kind of facial recognition, something, because
his face does remind me of someone that I would have seen on like a soap opera type vibe, Grey's Anatomy, General Hospital.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's
All right,
giving me
stay
soap
tuned.
opera vibes. Yeah.
Stay tuned, everybody, because I got to figure out who he looks like by the end of this season, or else I will just go barking mad.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm glad that they get to the religion conversation right away, it looks like. Again, I was very proud of them for the way that they navigated that conversation. It seemed really smart and honest and lovely. And they both, I think, understood where each other was coming from with their perspective. He didn't really get to talk too much about his religious or spiritual background, but she explained to him, I think, where she currently is in relation to where she's been. So I thought that was a really good, strong conversation.
Yeah. So I do think that it was a strong conversation, but the vibe that I got from the beginning, and I don't know if I'm being overly critical of Miguel because like hindsight is 2020, and then seeing how he conducted himself later. So now I'm being more critical looking back.
Yeah.
His energy just gives me disinterested in spurts. It's not the entire conversation. I don't know if it's the editing or the camera angle. I'm not sure, but sometimes he just seems a bit zoned out. I don't know if it's because she's talking so much and then they're cutting it up.
As she is wont to do.
So I'm getting a little bit disinterested and distant at different points in the conversation. So I do think that it was productive, but he just didn't seem to be as engaged.
Yeah.
And because at least they didn't show where he was saying, hey, well, this is how I arrived at being, you know, with the religious beliefs that I have or lack thereof at this point. It was just kind of like, he was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that tracks, because he did say that his track record is to get to about 3 months and then get disinterested. So, you know, maybe that's happening on a shorter span within conversations as well, you know, that his attention span is not fantastic.
Yeah, especially if she's being long-winded, which we know, and she can like spiral a little bit. So we know that she's kind of good for that. She also shared that she was engaged before, which I thought was interesting that this is just coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, learn from Alexis.
It's not Alexis. Yeah, exactly. Alexis, Binh told you.
I know. And to me, even Krysten with a Y, even she brought up, hey, I've been down this path too. So it's just interesting that like this is just coming out now. Maybe there's other reasons why she's choosing to share it just with him, which I think makes it a bit more special in that she hasn't just been talking about it with everybody else, and then he's just finding out. But yeah, I thought that was interesting that she's been engaged before. Also, that like her family background, for them to be very religious. Her parents have went through a divorce. She's already lived with a high school boyfriend before, you know.
Yeah. Okay, Lindy. I get the strong sense that there is much more for her to reveal. There's much more to Lindy than she has shared so far. She is an onion peeling back layers one at a time.
I mean, who's going to live with a boyfriend for the summer in high school? It's not mathing for me.
I'm like, I have an answer to that, but it's impolite. So I'm gonna keep it to myself. But I do have a thought on the kind of folks who do that, and it's not me. I'm like, oh, my mom, I can just imagine that conversation if I were to go to her and be like, so I'm just gonna live with my boyfriend all summer.
Yeah, I'm gonna be over here for the summer.
No, we don't no.
But yeah, so I will say though, you know, her opening up about that, he opens up about, you know, his background and dealing with a mom who has a mental illness. So that explains more why the sister may be more involved.
That sister.
You know, yeah, she may be more involved than most sisters would be. And then him sharing just about him, you know, moving to Puerto Rico, I believe, and, you know, kind of having to adjust to life, you know, down there, kind of being an outsider. And so I feel like that was a good bonding moment when they were in that conversation. It was a
Agreed.
bit more back and forth. And
Agreed.
it's like, I'm glad that she said like, hey, like, these are the things that will bring me closer to you. So he can't say that she hasn't voiced what will bring them closer together from her perspective.
Yeah.
He knows from the gate. And to me, that's what he should be leaning on instead of trying to get in her pants.
That
I'm
part.
gonna pass it to you. I'm gonna take a break.
So yeah, no, I think the part about them in this episode that stood out the most to me was the part of the conversation. I don't remember if it was the first one or the second one, but they, in one of their conversations, she expressed to him that she believes that love is a choice. And he was like, I don't think that, right? Like love is a feeling instead of a choice. And so I do think that that is going to cause some conflict down the road. That actually might be exactly where it is. So she so far is telling him, you know, thank you for being so patient with me. And I think that him describing that aspect of their relationship is, I think a lot of the guys, maybe two of the guys specifically, are misrepresenting the scenario to the other men. And so I don't think that he is explaining to them. I think he's painting himself in a good light, as people do, right? But I think that he is not explaining to them exactly his role. And even though she says he's being very patient and he's telling the guys, oh, I'm being very patient, I don't think that he is actually feeling patient about that at all. And so I think that's going to bubble up because he's saying, in order for me to move forward in my feelings with you, we have to have sex. And she's saying the exact opposite.
Yeah, I don't think that he has been patient. One, it's only been a few days, right? Two days, 3 at the most.
And you were a stone cold stranger before that. So
yeah. So 2-3 days patience. Okay. And then another reason why he's not being patient is she has verbally expressed to him like, hey, I don't want to do this right now. I'm not comfortable, whatever she's said to him. And he's made multiple advances. So this is where my issue comes in with Miguel is one, you're right. He's painting himself to be this patient, good guy. But for me, constant opportunities of you trying is teetering on coercion. That's the vibe that I'm getting.
It is.
If you tried once, really that should have been enough. Twice, you really pushed it. This massage
in a matter of like 2 days, right? I was like, oh, the old massage trick. Oh, that trick. Yeah.
And I feel for her because she's in a lose-lose situation, and that if she starts to pull back, it can come across as if she didn't try. But really, she could just be protecting herself because he's trying to pull these little slick moves. Like he knows what he's doing.
He knows. These two are both incredibly smart and accomplished individuals.
Yeah. No,
and so they know what's up.
Made a move way too many times. She's already told you how she feels about it. If you feel like the chemistry is there, what's the rush? This whole scenario made me change my feelings about Miguel
a little bit.
I feel like for a few of the people on this season, there's this weird thing going on where, like you said, the way that people are in their confessionals, it's just like different how they're showing up on screen when they're together with other people. But I'll take it a step further. Even within one conversation, I'm getting multiple different vibes and different people within the same person.
Yeah.
And I've seen it with him. I kind of saw it with Stacia too, a little bit. So it's like pick a person and stick with it.
And well, a character, right? I mean, and that's honestly, I wrote a paper a million years ago about how essentially post 92, when the first season of The Real World premiered, people know what this is, right? You know what it is. If somebody says we're making a TV show, unless you're Amish, you pretty much understand. And in some cases, even Amish, because there's like a show about that too, right? Multiple shows. So you know what this is, and you know that once you agree to have your likeness and your history and your experiences broadcast on television, you are going to become a character, and you have some say in how that character develops, but you are really at the mercy of the producers. So, you know, I think part of the onus is definitely on the individuals that we're talking about, but we can't dismiss the influence that happens during production and definitely post-production.
Oh yeah. I'm just surprised by Miguel because he said that he's had multiple relationships that have ended.
3-month-long relationships.
Yeah, however it has. And he's 35, going into 36. So he's a little bit older. Yeah. And so I'm just surprised that he's coming out so hot for her in terms of the physical department, because it's like, okay, you've been through your 20s, you're halfway through your 30s. You should know that like that physicality is gonna wane. And because you say that you would lose interest in people in 3 months, that's even more reason for Lindy to kind of pump her brakes to make sure like, hey, everything is on the up and up. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just surprised by him.
Yeah. This one wasn't a good look for him.
No, whatsoever. Yeah. All right, so let's go on to Mr. and Mrs. in Love. Oh, she got me.
Justin.
Let me not sing before you two.
Right, exactly. No. I do not own the rights to this.
Yeah, scratch that.
Yeah. I'm seeing producer fingerprints on this one as well. So let me tell you when I was like, oh, this couple is being heavily produced. And it was during the horseback ride, right? So again, it's Adventure Day. And so all of the couples go do these little adventures. And their adventure, Alexis and Justin go horseback riding along the beach, which is beautiful, right? And then there's a shot of, you know, Justin's horse facing this way and Alexis's horse facing this way, and they're leaning over and they're kissing, and it's like a drone shot, right? So the camera is like flying in the air and pulling away, and it's incredibly romantic. I have thoughts about that as well, but it's beautiful. It's like, oh, it's great. That doesn't just happen. That doesn't just happen where they decided, oh, and our horses just turned and, you know, whatever. That was very clearly the producers saying, okay, like turn that horse around, right? Neither of these two that I know of grew up doing like equestrian or whatever. So there were other folks, right, saying, okay, let's turn this horse, and here's how we make them stand still long enough for us to get our drone and bring it in and get the shot, right? So I'm wishing that I saw fewer producer fingerprints across the board, but I'm seeing it a lot with this couple. And I think the two of them are playing into that. I think they are playing their characters. So I wish their moments were a little more authentic. I mean, and listen, do most of us care? No, you know, we want to be kind of wrapped up in that moment. You know, we want to see the romantic moment. That's part of the reason why we're watching this show, is that we want to watch people fall in love. We do want to see that, right? But it's contributing, I think, and this is a larger point, so tell me to stop.
No, you're fine.
But I think a lot of so my husband asked me the other day, he was like, so do you think of Paris as a romantic city? Like, is Paris a romantic city? And we were in Paris for our anniversary many years ago. And I was like, of course, right? It was so romantic. And he was like, okay, yeah, what made it romantic? And I was like, yeah, I mean, we were walking around the city and, we had wine and the lights and just the history. And he was like, yeah, we could get all of that in like San Francisco too, lights, walking around, wine,
Another city,
history, right? It's a city. So where does the romance come? And it got me thinking, so much of what we think of as romance, or of anything really, is because it's being fed to us through television, film, and, the internet, right? But we're using these media scripts to fill in our actual understandings of like, what does it mean to be romantic? What does it mean to be happy? What does it mean to be successful, etc.? So I think, and none of us are immune. And so Alexis and Justin also, I think, are aware of the fact that they are currently co-writing this script about romance. And so Justin's proclamation, spoiler alert, about how he loves her and is in love with her is coming from a history of being taught, instructed by media scripts, and also this pressure of knowing that he's now an author of a romantic script as well.
Oh yeah, and you miss and also have my babies too.
Oh, right. And I'm spending the rest of my life with you, and I knew it the minute I saw you, and love at first sight is definitely a thing.
Yeah, I think both of them are really enjoying the attention of all of this. And I think they know that they have a good potential, even if they don't work out, but to be a likable couple.
Yes.
So even if it doesn't go in their way, they could at least come away from this experience like, oh, okay, well, the internet was here for us.
Doesn't hate us. Right.
Right. This isn't going to be like a Lindsay situation or a Alyssa situation.
Right.
But yeah, the whole scene where, they're sitting down and he's professing his love for her. When she laughed, I saw some people being like, oh, it was so rude. One, I think she is a bit dramatic in just her responses in general.
And just in general.
But I also think too, that even if there may be some performativeness to it, I think that was a genuine reaction.
I do too.
She could not stop smiling. And I don't think it was in a, oh, I'm so happy, but more so like, oh,
I'm hella uncomfortable.
He's really taking it there. So there may be some, coercion and producers telling him to do this or that. But I feel like in that moment, she was just like,
like, it felt like a nervous laugh.
That's all she could really do.
Totally.
And the more he kept talking, the bigger her smile got, but not in a, I'm so happy and enthralled. And she told him like, hey, I'm just not there yet. I'm not even used to sharing my feelings. I feel uncomfortable, being vulnerable with people, which I believe all that to be true about her, especially since she ran from 3 proposals. But
1, 2, 3, she always tells us.
when he started crying, I was just so uncomfortable for her because I'm like, what do you do? What do you say? He said he was sensitive.
And I think the way that she handled it was actually as good as you can, right? Because first of all, he's told you he loves you and is in love with you and all of the other things, and you are not there yet. So her immediate reaction was the nervous laugh. I get it. And her second reaction was, I think she does actually care about him. So she's like, I don't want this to be painful for you. And she said, what did she say? Oh, do you want me to say that I love you? Because that's too much for me right now. Right. And so I felt like that was a mature way to handle that situation that he created for them there.
Yeah. And he took it to another level. I wrote down, he said he claims that he can tell that she's in love with him. Now,
we heard that from somebody else too. And I was
think
like,
you're reaching, but I think, okay, Justin, you're really laying it on thick.
Yeah.
The situation is already a bit uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
I can't say whether she's in love or not, but I did see a comment where someone online said, Alexis really knows how to get a man to be comfortable and fall in love.
Mm-hmm.
The way she's kissing on him, hyping him up.
She said, "You are made for me. I need you." That looked like a green light to your boy Justin. He was like, "Great. In that case, I'll see your I need you and I will raise you. I love you." So he was like, perfect. This is ideal.
He's like, I manifested this love at first sight. And I mean, to a certain extent, I can kind of understand his excitement because they had already crossed paths. So maybe he feels like this is God answering destiny. His prayers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so,
yeah,
in that instance, even if the producers are meddling, I really hope she don't break him down. Oh, I hope she don't break him down.
I think that's coming. Here's the thing. I think her initial reaction was the honest one. The one where she was like, no, not so much. And then something happened in the span of probably an hour. And she decided, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be all in. She said as much on the boat, right?
Yeah.
So she decided she's all in. She's going to ride this for 8 weeks. And then, but I think this is really going to break Justin. I think he's going to say yes on decision day. And I don't think that she is. And so that's where that leaves them. I will say that the way that the scene happened, the way that it actually happened was much better than I thought it was going to be based on the preview. You know, so I'm hopeful that maybe, I don't know, maybe there's, I don't know.
We shall see.
I'm hopeful for them, but I'm just like, I don't know.
And I just hope she stops bringing up the fact that he's celibate.
In front of people, knock it off.
Oh, stop, please.
He's trying to not be.
I know.
He's trying to end that.
Oh, gosh.
Not as hard as Miguel, but I should say not as aggressively as Miguel. I'm going to avoid the term hard.
All right. So let's get into the Miss Boss Babe and Mr. Banker.
Okay. All right. These two. So her rationale, so they did not, in fact, well, according to the two of them, the shower was just a preview. They did not, in fact, get it in the shower. Okay. And her reasoning for why not seemed appropriate, logical. I get it. It makes sense what she's saying. And so, but I think that there might be another element to that. Like, I think she thinks he's hot. And I think that, like she said, if it was just about the physical, there'd be no issues. It would have been already happened. But I think she's starting to pick up on what she called yellow flags. And I think this episode revealed quite a few of those yellow flags to us as well. Ones that maybe she didn't even see, right? Well, she saw it now, but so for example, they go on their adventure day. It was adventure time for them, and they're on the ATVs, and she goes into it saying, well, we see it as them. We don't know if she recorded that before, after, whatever, but she says, I really hope that he understands that this is not just about the activity, but it's also about like us doing this together, and like, let's be together and don't leave me, check in on me, make sure I'm okay. And then we get out there for just a hot second and he leaves her and she's like, where's my husband?
He said, I'm outside in Mexico.
And I'm taking selfies because I look cute in this Mexican area here, right? So immediately, the thing that she was concerned about happened. She's already going to have it in her mind. He's younger than her. Is he, less mature than her? And he's confirming those fears, unfortunately, for them.
And his reasoning in that situation, well, I'm going to call out one thing. just to take it back, when they were having their morning breakfast, bath, whatever that was.
Yeah.
This showed me that he was a young 34. When she's in the bathtub, they're having that intimate moment. Okay, yes. You're taking video, but then you're zooming in on her body, which she has a beautiful body.
Yeah.
But that whole situation, the way he's zooming in, and it made me uncomfortable because I don't know if she saw it from that angle and like what all he was doing. So you're giving me young 34 from that instance.
Totally.
Now fast forward back to the whole ATV thing. It just seemed like he was more interested in the activity than her.
He was more interested in how he doing that activity was going to appear on the gram.
That and his reasoning of like, oh, well, I can't flip the switch. That's the idea that was kind of stuff in my head. But him being like, oh, well, I can't flip it on and off. It's like no one's asking you to do that. But even if you're doing not a dangerous activity, but you're in a foreign country, you're with someone you just met,
who you should be wanting to spend time with.
Why would you be wanting to leave them? Yeah. And no one's expecting you to like have everything together in terms of being a husband, but like this is a very basic thing. You should be in like protective mode.
You should just be in interested mode. That's all I'm asking for, right? Just be interested in someone other than yourself.
He said, I'm outside.
Yeah, he was like, we out here. Okay, who's we?
Yeah, because I don't even know.
Because where's your wife?
Can you even use that footage on your Instagram? Like, obviously you can't show her.
No. Yeah. So you're so right about that. The breakfast bath thing. That was weird. Anyway, so he is giving me those signs of like he's living his life for what it's going to look like on social media. And it was giving Olajuwon on the horses, but at least in that moment, Olajuwon was like, okay, engaged, right? Like, still completely overbearing and controlling and set in his ways, but at least he was interested.
Yeah, and it makes me concerned because I'm like, okay, if you're all about the gram, is you even just being on this show? Because that was the initial vibes that I was getting from him. Like, are you really interested in being married, or are you just looking from some type of fame, influencer type opportunities that could come from this? And he kind of a little bit reconfirmed what I was initially feeling like, are you really interested in marriage? And then some of his answers to her questions, I don't know if I'm jumping too far ahead, but when she brings up the prenup question, I feel like he handled that well.
I did too, but I thought that he handled that well.
But I'm just going to call out the fact that I don't know what kind of bankruptcy falls off your credit in 6 months.
None kinds. Yeah. So maybe he is not telling her the whole truth there. So once again, we have a little onion that we need to peel. Let's go back just a tiny bit with them. The conversation that they had about getting ready. With her getting ready. Again, he's got the phone and he's doing this like for the gram kind of thing, right? Did you think he was serious? I couldn't tell if he was joking or if it was serious, or if it maybe started serious and then turned into a joke when he saw how she was reacting. I think
it was both.
That whole thing made me super uncomfortable.
I think it was both. I think he was annoyed that she was taking too long, because he just gives me the vibe that he would be the type of guy, like based off how he acted with the ATV thing, if he's ready to go, he's ready to go.
Right.
So I think he was annoyed and used the whole like, oh, I'm recording a video as a way to like hurry her up.
Yeah.
But when she did say an hour and a half, I was kind of like, okay, girl, you're at a resort. It's hot as I don't know what outside. I'm not saying you can't look cute.
but 2 hours is excessive.
Yeah.
But she was like, but listen, I'm punctual. So what that said to me was, you tell me what time I got to be ready. I'll be ready by that time. And don't worry about how long it's going to take me.
Yeah.
You get ready on your schedule. I'll get ready on mine.
That's true. He just seemed like he would be impatient. I could see him being like, all right, well, I'm ready to go have fun. Everyone else is out there drinking and we're stuck in here. I could see him.
Yeah. And that's also related to the conversation that they had about the kids' timeline, right? Because, and I think that he's not that he's impatient because he wants her to hurry up, but I think he just has a grave misunderstanding about how women's reproductive timelines look. So she's 37. Generous. I'm very generous right now, right?
You're being generous. What I felt was he was throwing a bit of shade.
Yes.
To get back at her.
Yes.
Because he was like, well, you're older than me. Why even say that? One, you're 34. So even if she was 34, most doctors would tell you like, yeah, like you're already married, you have your person, you shouldn't be waiting 5 years.
Right.
To start this process.
Right.
So I felt
and that's just biology.
Yeah. And so I just felt like it was a bit of shade.
Yeah.
To kind of like humble her a little bit after the whole bankruptcy conversation. Yes. Like, oh, I'm gonna bring her down a few notches. So I did not appreciate that. That just showed his immaturity in that. It's like she didn't ask for a younger guy either. There's trade-offs on both sides.
Yeah. Right.
So he didn't have to say all that. I think you're being generous saying that he has a grave misunderstanding. No, he knows.
I am. And I think that that's something that happens a lot. Just, I don't want to generalize. I definitely don't. But, ever since we probably don't want to get super political, but ever since Roe v. Wade was overturned, there have been all of these comments on social media about ways that reproduction has been misunderstood and people who just don't understand what happens inside the human body and how it works, right? How the whole thing works. And so I just feel like he's in that number. Like he's 34, you're old enough to know more about how reproduction works.
And maybe him being a man, he may just feel like, oh, well, that's more of your problem. Like you're the one carrying the baby. But I think her wanting to at least attempt within a year, I don't think is unreasonable, but
I don't either. I feel like it makes sense.
Even when he said, okay, well, if it's the right person, that's red flag.
That's rude. I'm right here.
And she said, like, I'm your wife. So what do you mean right person? And so even when he was like, oh, another 2 or 3 years, even that for me, like, I think you can have your timeline and like want what you want, but now that you know who your person is, I think that's where you come into it a bit more open-minded of, okay, they paired me with a person who's slightly older. So it's unrealistic to expect this woman to wait 3 years. That would put her basically at 40, which not saying it's impossible, but why? Why take that on unnecessarily?
Especially because that's not what she wants to do. That's not her plan. So,
Yeah. So one area where I feel like, I think I mentioned earlier that we're getting 2 different versions of people was when I'm skipping ahead to the boat ride where they're having the conversation about the name.
And the dads.
So I like the way Alexis handled that situation because I don't think there was any ill intent there. I'm glad that all the women, the vibe was good.
Again, how it should be. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But when she was like, oh yeah, I went ahead and changed my name, I'm forever Miss Barnes. So like, this isn't giving me Miss Independent Boss Babe. I don't know. I was so confused by that. I'm not saying that she shouldn't change her last name to his. I'm just shocked that she did it already. And she went as far as to say, I'm going to keep
even if it doesn't work out.
Even if it doesn't work out. So Stasha, I'm confused here. Is it
Yeah,
Boss Babe? Is it Pride? Is it, I don't know what this is.
I'm going to tell you what I think it is.
Tell me, I'm confused.
I think okay, I don't know. I'm literally just pew 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 shooting in the dark over here. but I think here's what I wrote. I'm just going to tell you what I wrote. She could have a spinoff. I feel like not that she would be this calculating, but she is a strategist, right? She strategist.
Yeah.
I feel like Miguel, like what like strategist, that's a strategist. So she's comfortable with strategy, let's put it that way. But I felt like in that moment, I was like, oh, I completely can see the spinoff show about her. It's like a Who Do You Think You Are meets Married at First Sight. And it's like her and Nate trying to investigate these other sides of their family that they don't know about. I was like, I see it. I see your spinoff right now.
Wow. You might be onto something, or you may have planted the seed for the idea for them. You're welcome.
I'll take my, you're welcome. You can have that one for free.
Wow.
Everything else will cost.
It has to be something else. The pain of changing your last name, if you've ever gone through it, and then if I'd imagine at her age, she has property, she has this, it's so many things that, especially you haven't had children yet. So I understand what she was saying, like, oh, I want me and my kids to have the same last name. Cool. But y'all haven't even gotten to that point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was, I think I respected her reasoning for doing that. Yeah, I don't know. I respected her reasoning in that case. And it's a deeply personal decision, and something that probably it probably wasn't an easy decision. I think she made it seem like it was an easy decision. Again, we're misrepresenting ourselves in front of people, but I think that it probably was a tougher decision to reach than she may have let on.
Yeah.
I do think we should start a drinking game though. So every time Nate says, let's go, we drink.
We're going to be done.
Let's go. Let's go. Again, young 34. I appreciate let's go, but like, I think we had 3 times in this episode.
I mean, maybe it's because Nate been quarantined. He ain't been outside. I don't know what is going on.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned about Nate and Stasha.
Yep. All right. Let's get to Krysten with a Y.
Let's do it.
Itch.
Oh boy. Oh boy. This couple is fascinating television. This is why television is so much fun. So the stand-up paddleboarding. First of all, I was like,
you missed something. The Band-Aid is gone.
Well, it wasn't at the beginning. It was barely hanging on. It was like it was a little, it was like elevated. And I was like, Mitch, today has to be the day. This Band-Aid is begging for liberation. Like, it just give it free right now. Let that Band-Aid go. It is no longer doing what it's supposed to do, which is stick to your head. Although there were a few shots where I was like, oh no,
it was a cut.
Like that was a serious thing. Anyway.
It was a cut. Listen, Johnson and Johnson or whoever makes Band-Aid got all this free promo.
They sure did because Mitch was committed. He was more committed to that Band-Aid than he was to Krysten. Wah, wah.
Lord have mercy.
Okay, so yeah, they go stand up paddleboarding, which he's obviously like some kind of professional or whatever. He's like, oh yeah, your paddle needs to be blah, blah, blah. So that was a bad idea. You should have gone to do some kind of activity that he was unfamiliar with to break him out of his comfort zone, because that's what he needs.
Or something
So
that
that was an
could be more
interesting choice.
something that could be more engaging.
Yes, right. But she held her own. So I was like, all right,
Yeah.
Krysten, good job. And then they have this conversation after paddleboarding. And my overwhelming feeling in that conversation was they are spending far too much time analyzing their predicament rather than just trying to be in it and like get to know each other. So instead of being like, so tell me about your family, let's do this. And maybe they did those things, but all that we saw was them like, so how is this going? What do we think? Blah, blah, blah. You think my jokes are funny. I think you're funny. They're analyzing instead of just being in the moment, which is what I think they desperately needed. And what kind of came out when they got to the pool a little bit later.
Yeah, and I feel like they spent way too much time showing her complimenting him. I just wanted to smack her every time she was giving
like, don't give him anything.
Nothing else. No. Like, let it go. I mean, yeah, so one thing, well, you take over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. I will say this as just a brief aside so that we don't leave this point that you were about to make. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but during the Krysten and Mitch scenes is when we were getting the little corner bug promotional thing for the show about frogging. Did you notice that? So frogging, PH frogging, right? I had to look it up because I was like, I don't even know what that means. But apparently there's some show coming called Frogging, Hider in My House. And this phenomenon of frogging is when someone will, without your knowledge, be living in your house.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
I saw it, but I didn't look it up.
And apparently that's a thing that happens, which is my stomach hurts after even thinking about the concept. I wish I hadn't looked it up, but I did. But I did think that it was not subliminal because I don't believe that subliminal anything. I don't believe that in that. But I do think it was meaningful that they put that together with the scenes from Krysten and Mitch. Frogging. He's a frogger.
Yeah. So Mitch is on this whole thing about, like you said, analyzing, but he's feeling all this pressure. Not
coming from her.
So it wasn't coming later. Yeah, it wasn't until later in the episode. Initially until we saw later. So then I was thinking, was she maybe putting more pressure off?
Yeah, we saw.
Yeah, off camera, or this, maybe it was cut up because if we fast forward to the conversation where she basically comes right out and is like, I want what I want in terms of like sex and getting physical. I was just like, girl, nothing this man has showed you has put him on the same planet as you. So why? So maybe she had been coming on. So that's why he was feeling pressure, but he didn't want to say.
That's a good point.
That it was her. Maybe it was a bit more subliminal, but the way she came out of the gate in that conversation, I'm like, maybe she has been. And then later on, she was giving ultimatums. So
yeah, she sure did.
So yeah, I'm not saying I agree with him in that, all this pressure thing, but I think that it's pressure also mixed with a bit of insecurity. There's something going on here where he calls his brother or friend.
I know, his brother.
And he's like, oh, it's not her, it's me. I don't know what's going on, but when he started crying, I'm like, is there something else going on here?
There has to be.
What did I miss?
I don't know. I don't know.
Nothing about that conversation, like the way that he presents himself. Once again, he's another person where you're getting different people.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, I call it like it is. I'm brutally honest.
Yeah.
He seems macho, but then he admits like, I may not be where I need to in the bed.
Right.
But then he's like, oh, I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about her. but then he's the one crying about it.
Right.
And up until that point, if you hadn't done or said anything to hurt her feelings, I don't understand why you're crying.
Yeah.
Do you feel cheated out of the process?
Yeah. Again, I think he's another little onion, but he's not a blooming onion. He's like red, like I'm not unpeeling anything. And there's got to be more behind this. There may even be some trauma behind this, that it's not just that he's insecure, it's that there is something that he has not worked through about himself and his relationships.
Yeah, you're not the first person to like have someone interested in them that you're just not really feeling like that. I mean, at 40, whatever he is, you've probably been through this before.
Right.
So yeah, I didn't understand the tears. And then we get to the conversation where, you know, he is honest with her.
Yeah. I
felt bad for her.
I really felt bad for her. And I feel like she walked right into that conversation, and it struck me as she thought that it was her conversation where she was going to essentially confront him about the fact that they hadn't been physical. And he was like, surprise, this is actually the conversation where I'm confronting you about how not into you I am.
Blindside.
And so total blindside. So the fact that she held it together during that conversation and did not cry, even though multiple times, because you know I'd be watching their faces, right? In slow-mo. Multiple times. It was like when I don't remember what it was that he said to her, but we watched her full flush, like her whole face turned red. And I was just like, oh, don't cry, girl. Don't cry. You've got this. You're okay. And her response to him was, let me back up. So I think there's more to uncover from her as well, because when she started the conversation, she said, I know this is crazy, but I wouldn't mind being more physical. And I'm like, I know this is crazy.
If you know it's crazy, why say it or do it?
Well, and also that's not crazy. Yeah. That's not crazy. You are a grown woman talking about what you want. And that's not crazy. So what is it in your mind that's like, let me apologize for this already? You don't have to apologize for that, babe.
So you know what I think it is? Why she said, you know, this might be crazy, because I think she is just ignoring all the red flags.
Oh, well,
that's why that's why I said, well, if you know it's crazy, because I mean, maybe I'm fast forwarding too much, but she says like, oh, I'm confused. I don't know.
Right.
You know, he's been showing me, girl, he has showed you nothing.
And she said, I can tell by how you look at me that you think I'm attractive. And I'm like, you can? Because I can't. I can't. I think so. Maybe it is crazy. Maybe it is crazy.
I think she's saying one thing.
Yeah.
But she knows what she feels and what she's not getting. Because she even said like, oh, he seems anxious. He seems uncomfortable. I don't want to put too much pressure. So she's seeing what we're seeing. She's choosing to ignore it so that she can keep her head in the game. Yeah. So she'll say something like, oh, well, this might be crazy. Well, yeah, it might be if you're making moves or suggesting moves with a man who's showing you that he's not interested in you.
Right. And I think similar to what I was saying about Alexis and Justin, I think this is the other couple that's really under the influence of what we've been taught means romance. Or in this particular case, what Krysten has learned is what does attraction look like? What does it look like when someone is attracted to you? So when she's confused because she thinks that tequila and chocolate covered strawberries and a pool and the moon equals he's attracted to you. Girl, no, like he is just sitting there eating the same and drinking the same as you are. That doesn't mean that could be anybody there. He's not attracted to you. He's attracted to the tequila.
Yeah. And where else would he be? I mean, you're on a TV show. You're you could have to be together.
Exactly.
So, but I get what she's saying, that like, because he isn't outright being mean to her, being disrespectful to her, she's looking for any breadcrumb or light that like she's getting it in her head that it's something more than what it actually is. Right. Now, I will say that if he did try to make a move on her, he was wrong for that.
Right. And I think we are coming to the conclusion that that's exactly what happened. Because and now she does have every right to be confused, because after a whole day, a day where it seemed in her mind like it was going great, and then a dinner conversation where everything went off the rails, and then if he made a move on her at night, she's like, now that's a legitimate confusion.
I was glad to hear that she turned him down. I would have been highly upset with her if she would have gone through with it, because I'm like, okay, girl, even though you're saying like, oh, I'm not going to convince him of my worth and all this, you're somewhat contradicting yourself, because you then say, oh, well, I'm willing to wait. And, oh, if I don't get this and this by decision day.
Right.
So you're saying one thing, but then you're contradicting yourself a little bit. Like she said way too much, in my opinion. I would have just left it the way that it was. I wouldn't have even thanked him for sharing his feelings. I would have just been like, oh, okay.
I like her, and I feel bad that this is her predicament. I wanted her to win. I wanted him to be, I just have such a deep, I'm dissatisfied. I'm not satisfied with Mitch. I don't want to say I don't like Mitch, because honestly, when you compare him to some of the people in the past couple of seasons that I feel very, very comfortable saying I don't like, Alyssa, for example, Chris from, what season was that?
Was it 13?
You know the Chris.
Yeah,
everybody knows the Chris I'm talking about, with the pregnant ex-girlfriend or whatever. He is not so far even touching how much I dislike them. But I just feel like this is such a strong not match that I'm frustrated with the show, and I'm frustrated with the experts for going along with this charade that these two could have a chance.
Well, I think my frustration is he shouldn't be on this show.
He should not be on this show. Period.
He could have been on the show, but he should not have been on the show. I will say, to her credit, I really liked the way that she handled her time with the other girls, and how she was like, hey, I'll give y'all the rundown later, a different day. Like, she didn't want to make a scene, bring down the mood of everybody else. So I appreciated her in that moment. Like, let the other girls enjoy the high that they're on. Even though I'm pretty sure it was hard for her to keep it together, hearing how Morgan just feels like, oh, Binh is the one for me. And Alexis is getting told he loves her, and
Stasia's changing her name, and
but
did you by any chance see the after party?
No, I didn't.
Okay, wait. I took a picture. I'm gonna show you.
Okay.
Because it's worth it. So Mitch was one of the people on the after party. It was Mitch, Justin, and somebody else. But girl, his shoes, when I tell you these are Mitch's shoes.
Are they made of recycled plastic or something? What is going on?
Why was Keisha was like, so Mitch got his toes out.
I mean, it is San Diego.
But, what are you doing? Please don't wear those shoes. Please don't wear those shoes, Mitch.
And he got the nerve to be talking about.
Did he make those?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
Lord have mercy. But anyway. I think that's all that we have.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Right. There's no coming back from those shoes. That is the end.
Oh, Lord. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. We will be back next week around this time. So we will see y'all then. Bye.
Thank you.